She was born in whispers of scandal and blood. 1533 at the court of England, the air trembled with expectation. The king awaited a son, but when the child arrived it was a daughter, Elizabeth. Her birth was the price of sin and defiance. Her father, King Henry VIII, had broken with the Pope, defied his church, and cast aside his wife, Catherine of Aragon, all to marry the brilliant and ambitious Anne Boleyn, but the king's joy turned quickly to fury. He wanted a prince, he got a girl. And 3 years later, that little girl would watch her mother fall from grace, and from life itself. Anne Boleyn was accused of adultery, treason, even incest, lies woven in the corridors of power. She was condemned and executed at the Tower of London. They say that little Elizabeth, only 3 years old, watched from a palace window as her mother was led away to die. That image, a mother disappearing into the fog, would haunt her forever. From that day on, Elizabeth learned her first and cruelest lesson. In this world, trust is death. The years that followed were cold and uncertain. Her father married again, and again, and again 6 wives, 6 tragedies. Elizabeth was declared illegitimate, but her mind was a kingdom of its own. She studied languages, philosophy, theology. She learned to read faces and lies. One of her tutors said, This child carries the soul of a queen, but the wounds of an orphan." When her father died, the throne passed to her frail half-brother, Edward VI, and after him, to her sister Mary Tudor, remembered by history as Bloody Mary. Mary, a fierce Catholic, saw in her Protestant sister a threat, a rival blessed by heretics. Elizabeth was arrested and sent to the Tower, the same place where her mother had been beheaded. As the iron gates closed behind her, she whispered, "I know that many have come here alive and have never left." For months, she lived in fear, listening to the echo of footsteps in the dark corridors, wondering if each one carried her dare. From the moment of her coronation, she captivated the world. Young, brilliant, impossible to read. Her smile could disarm an enemy. Her silence could terrify a council. When her advisors begged her to marry, she smiled and said, "I am already married to my kingdom." That single sentence sealed her legend. The Virgin Queen. But her chastity was no weakness. It was her greatest weapon. Elizabeth used courtship as strategy. She danced with power, not with love. Kings and princes, from Spain, from France, from Sweden, all believed they might win her heart. None ever did. But one man touched it, Robert Dudley, the Earl of Leicester. Handsome, loyal, dangerous. He was her confidant, her friend, perhaps her love. But Dudley had a wife, Amy Robsart. And one morning, Amy was found dead at the bottom of a staircase, her neck broken. The coroner called it an accident. The court called it murder. And the whispers said the Queen's heart had demanded a sacrifice. She never married Dudley. But she never loved another. Under her rule, England turned to the sea. Ships carried her flag across the oceans. And men like Sir Francis Drake, half pirate, half hero, brought gold and glory from the New World. The empire was being born, with cannon fire and blood. Yet London was no paradise. Its prisons overflowed. The poor starved in the shadows of palaces. And the heads of traitors, dipped in tar, decorated the gates of London Bridge. When the Queen rode past them on horseback, she never flinched. Power, she knew, demanded steel and silence. Then came Mary Stuart, Queen of Scots, her cousin, her mirror, her curse. Mary was everything Elizabeth was not. Passionate, Catholic, impulsive, when rebellion forced her to flee Scotland, she sought refuge in England. Elizabeth received her not as a guest, but as a prisoner for 19 long years. Mary lived in gilded captivity. Until a Catholic plot to assassinate Elizabeth was discovered, the letters that sealed the plan were Mary's own hand. Elizabeth hesitated for weeks. To execute a queen was to invite ghosts, but at last she signed. The morning of the execution, Mary appeared in red, the colour of martyrdom. The executioner's first blow missed, the second barely cut, only the third ended it. When he lifted the head to show the crowd, her wig came away in his hand, and her skull rolled onto the floor. The witnesses screamed, Elizabeth, in her palace, wept, and ordered silence. Years drifted into decades. The young queen became an icon, but an icon made of porcelain and pain. She refused to be seen without her white mask of lead-based powder. That same poison preserved her beauty while it destroyed her flesh. Her teeth blackened, her skin rotted, her breath failed, but still she stood before her mirror each morning, painting eternity onto her dying face. In 1603, after 45 years of rule, Elizabeth died surrounded by portraits, not people. When her attendants removed her wig and jewels, they found her neck and face covered in sores, eaten away by her own vanity. The mask that crowned her had killed her, and yet she never truly died, for under her reign rose Shakespeare, Francis Bacon, Walter Raleigh, and the dawn of an empire that would shape the modern world. England, once an island of chaos, became a power that touched every ocean. Elizabeth I, the queen who loved no man, trusted no soul, remains eternal. She ruled not only a kingdom, but her own destiny. She turned loneliness into strength, and sorrow into empire. The Virgin Queen, the woman who defied the world and became its legend.